Excellent.
I'm still eating that chicken breast. I had another whole casserole. And we forgot. What I'm going to do, I just can't keep eating it. And the other one actually was better. It was on the top shelf. It didn't cook down as much. So the pieces of chicken were. So I'm going to put that in the container and freeze it. It's enough for 3 people. So someday you're going to get four.
Good morning, Claire.
Much better. Yeah, her numbers are getting good, and she's still a little tired, but she's working and she's doing good. Thank you, man. It's a scary time, but she's doing a lot better. Yeah, thanks.
I start the 14th.
Check 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Five times a week.
Please be seated now. Our service is about to begin. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the South Jersey Shore, a welcoming and inclusive faith community. We kindly ask that you turn off your cell phones. Our service is open to all visitors, friends, and members. Whether you're single, partnered, or family of any type, we welcome you. Whether you're here in the sanctuary with us, watching live online, or in demand, may our time together be one of learning and celebration. My name is Jack Nemeth, and I am your worship associate this morning. Our worship service today is led by Laura Kushner. Laura is a recent graduate of Drew Theological School, where she earned her Master's of Divinity with a focus on social justice advocacy. She is a longtime member of the UU Montclair. Before seminary, she wore many hats in her congregational life. I keep on saying congressional. I found the work quite fulfilling. For the better part of the past 30 years, she has taught at the same nursery school, which is also the school she attended as a child. Although she has some more work to do before applying for ordination, Laura is looking forward to having more time to spend in the garden and doing more physical activities. At the beginning of September, she will participate in her first triathlon in 11 years. Video of today's service will be available on YouTube channel later today. There are a few announcements for this week. Well, here comes Atlas. If you have donations for the food bank, animal shelters, for the Coalition Against Rape and Abuse, please bring them up to the front of the sanctuary after the service. Use the basket indicated. The audio video system at UUCSJS is important to spread our message. Won't you be a part of it? David needs help to run the system. We need volunteers to learn to run the board, to help keep the sound and vision engaging and enjoyable. It's not hard. It's like following a recipe in a cookbook, and David will show you everything you need to know to cover on those days when you cannot attend. If you enjoy computers or photography, this is a great way to contribute to UCSGS with your talents. See David for information and a demonstration of the new upgraded system. Help moths and other insects. LED lights available for purchase Sunday at UUCSJS. Artificial lights are one of the major causes of insect decline. Outside lights attract and kill moths, fireflies, and other nocturnal insects. Bulbs are for sale in the foyer. It is that time of year again. Eastern Service Workers Association is asking for school supplies to fill all the backpacks that they distribute to students heading back to school. There is a bin in the entrance of the UUC building for items. See your midweek announcements for a list of needed items or contact Barbara Morell. We have been busy creating worship activity packets that help people of all ages learn and focus during worship service. Sitting still with nothing to do but listen can be hard for kids and even some adults. In fact, neuroscientists are learning that some activities actually help us focus in on what we are hearing or learning, especially activities with our hands. Often busy hands equal calm mind and body. Pick some up on your way into the sanctuary, across the doorway from the hymnals. Get creative. It's time for your soul, and that's faith development. Join us next Sunday for Roddy Bell, Shelton Biggs speaking on why our gatherings matter. As Unitarian Universalists, we gather each week. Some get dressed and come in person, while others join from home. But why do we gather? Could it be that we do so for change and need one another to create change? With change ever on the horizon, who are called to be Unitarian Universalists, and why does it matter? Next Sunday will be our first service delivered by a speaker who is not physically present. Welcome to the worship.
those days. And sincerely, a lot has got to change. The lies, the fears, the hate, despair that seem here to stay. So we frown and we point to blame, try to be so different but all the same. Tell me now some reason, please, why we act so foolishly. Yes, really, a lot has got to change. We've got common ground, we'll never find a way. And sincerely, how would we compare with truth and common love and hope? That's how we'll get there. But we scorn and we vilify those with whom we don't identify. Tell me now some reason, please, why we are so carelessly. Can we harmonize instead of demonize the so-called other side? Let's stand together. Will you sing with me this heartfelt melody? Voices together, it's really not so hard. Really, a lot has got to change. A lot has got to change.
Sorry, I was so taken by the music, I thought I needed to come up here. Before I get to the opening words, I just want to make a little correction on my bio. I had planned to do my first triathlon in 11 years, but life took over. Training just could not happen. And it's okay to let it go. So, in the earliest presence of, this is my word, sorry about that. In the earliest preferences of the child lies the inclination of the adult. And those are words by Bruce Haydock, who was a poet and a member of my congregation back in Montclair.
Our child slider today is Miriam. It's our 23rd wedding anniversary today. Please join me in reading the child's slighted words in your order of service. Deep calls unto deep, joy calls unto joy, light calls unto light. Because this flame kindle for us, the inner light of love, peace,
ourselves to be bearers of light wherever we are.
Please rise and embody your spirit and sing Gathering Hymn 395, Sing and Rejoice.
Let's all warm up a little. Me, 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 me. Me, 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 me. Me, me, me. You. Hey, you. That's what we sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice now, sing and rejoice.
Today's story is from the Daily Life of Tao by Derek Lynn. One day, the sage gave the disciple an empty sack and a basket of potatoes. Think of all the people who have done or said something against you in the recent past, especially those you cannot forgive. For each of them, inscribe their name on a potato and put it in the sack. The disciple came up with quite a few names, and soon his sack was heavy with potatoes. Carry the sack with you wherever you go for a week, said the sage. We'll talk after that. At first, the disciple thought nothing of it. Carrying the sack was not particularly difficult. But after a while, it became more of a burden. It sometimes got in the way and seemed to require more effort to carry as time went on, even though its weight remained the same. After a few days, the sack began to stink. The carved potatoes gave off a ripe odor. Not only were they increasingly inconvenient to carry around, they were also becoming rather unpleasant. Finally, the week was over. The sage summoned the disciple. Any thoughts about all of this? Yes, Master, the disciple replied. When we are unable to forgive others, we carry negative feelings with us, everywhere, much like these potatoes. That negativity becomes a burden to us, and after a while, it festers. Yes, that is exactly what happens when one holds a grudge. So how can you lighten your load? You must strive to forgive. Forgiving something is the equivalent of removing the corresponding potato from the sack. How many of your transgressors have you been able to forgive? I've thought about that quite a bit, Master, the disciple said. It required much effort, but I have decided to forgive all of them. Very well. We can remove all of the potatoes. Were there any more people who transgressed against you this last week? The disciple thought for a while and admitted there were. Then he felt panic when he realized his empty sack was about to be filled up again. Master, he said, if we continue like this, would there always be potatoes in the sack week after week? Yes. As long as people speak or act against you in some way, you will always have potatoes. But Master, we can never control what others do. So what good is the Tao in this case? We're not at the realm of the Tao. Everything we have talked about so far is the conventional approach to forgiveness. This is the same thing that many philosophies and most religions preach. We must constantly strive to forgive, for that is an important value. This is not the Tao, because there is no striving in the Tao. Then what is the Tao, Master? You can figure it out. If the potatoes are negative feelings, then what is the sack? The sack is that which allows me to hold on to the negativity. It is something within us that makes us dwell on feeling offended. Ah, it is my inflated sense of self-importance. And what will happen if you let go of it? Then the things that people say against me no longer seem like such a major issue. In that case, you won't have any names to inscribe on potatoes. That means no more weight to carry around and no more bad smells. The Tao of forgiveness is the conscious decision not just to remove some potatoes, but to relinquish the entire sack.
That was wonderful. A book is provided in the foyer in which you are invited to write whatever joys and sorrows you have entered. I will now read what you have shared. Prayers of love and healing to the UU Church of Plano, Texas, whose building was firebombed recently. Not much physical damage, but emotional. Unsigned. Let us share a quiet time together to reflect upon our week. During the musical interlude, you may come forward and place a pebble in the water to acknowledge personal joy or sorrow. That was wonderful. Let us be in the spirit of prayer. Blessed and holy creation, universe of wonder, mystery beyond definition, we share today our joys and sorrows, listening deeply to the things that cause us to weep or worry, and lifting our hearts as one at those things we would celebrate together. Our hearts are touched by the shared ritual, and we are connected. We hold in our hearts this morning those who are in need of emotional, physical, financial, or spiritual support. We pray for the people of war-torn areas and environmental distress. We pray that kindness and wisdom descends on those who are blind to the suffering they cause. We pray for those who are apart from us, whether by distance, time, or conflict unresolved. We pray for those who thirst, whether for water, dignity, or justice. We pray for those who are in danger and yearn for safety. We pray for our small, blue, fragile planet.
Be the change, be the change, be the change you wish to see. Be the change, be the change, be the change you wish to see. I am the change, I am the change, I am the change I wish to see. I am the change, I am the change, I am the change I wish to see. I am
up an offering during our service, it's good to remind ourselves from time to time that the offering is symbolic as well as practical. We know that it's through pledges that we build our budget and fund our yearly programs and ministries of worship and religious education, pay our staff and professional religious leaders, and finance the comfort and beauty of our building. If this is your first time visiting us today, feel free to let the basket pass as your presence is gifted. For those who are participating online, please visit ucsjs.org and click on the yellow donate button for ways to donate. Our offering says that the act of giving is as essential to our spiritual well-being as anything else we do here on Sunday mornings. The morning offering will now be given and received in the spirit of grateful fellowship.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Our reading today is an excerpt from Kate Rastrup's book, Here If You Need Me, Chapter 2. This chapter is about what happened after the death of her husband. Laura has taken the liberty of pulling and, in some cases, rearranging the text to make sense. Kate is a UU minister and the chaplain to the state of Maine's game wardens. She's a little controversial as some of her ideals do not match up with many of the UU's. Because this sermon is about forgiveness, Laura has chosen to forgive her politics and is grateful for the lessons she shares as a child. At the end of the reading, we will enter into a time of silent contemplation, concluded by the ringing of the bell. You may not embalm him, I said, not even a little bit, and no makeup either. He is to be cremated, and I would like to witness the cremation. In addition, I want to bathe and dress the body myself, and I will be the one who closes his coffin for the last time. Trooper Tom Ballard came to the house Wednesday morning to tell me that I would be permitted to tend to Drew's body. They wanted me to talk you out of it, he said soberly. What were they afraid of? The same thing I was afraid of? The same thing any of us might be afraid of these days? When birth and death are not processed in our homes by our own hands. We have no experience to guide us. At the funeral home, the door of the cool, ordinary room was open, and there he was. He had one bruise on his right thigh. He wore the novelty Halloween boxer shorts our son Zachary had chosen for him. Tom, my mother, two sergeants, and I dressed his body gently in a Class A Maine State Police uniform, crying a little, but laughing a little too. It's absurdly difficult to put clothing on a body that cannot cooperate. And what was there to do but imagine Drew's amusement at this necessary indignity and laugh with him? Then Sergeant Cunningham tenderly slid those cool, bluish feet into boots that shaped to fit exactly. He took the bootlaces between his fingers and tied them into little crisp bows with a practiced gesture that he must have used with his own boots. To Drew's jacket, Tom pinned Drew's badge and whistled. He buckled on the belt and bandolier. I washed Drew's face with a soft, damp cloth. This is what Drew would have done for me, I thought. And in all the time that I shall live without him, time roaring and tumbling at me like some merciless black avalanche, I will be able to tell myself that I bore our love with my own hands all the way to this last hard place. I washed him tenderly around the mouth and jaw and closed his eyes, then soothing his hair with my hand, leaving the cool room where Drew's body lay was harder than it was to enter.
This bag of potatoes is heavy. I know it only weighs 5 pounds, but I've been carrying it around with me for years. I'll put it down here for now. When I was here over the winter, I spoke about the act of self-care. It turned out this new way of taking care of myself was an unplanned gift from my mother. We learn so much from our parents, and for me, that learning has not stopped. I'm guessing that after she is gone, I'll continue to learn from her. I'm going to put this backpack on. Today I'm going to use it as a front pack. And share with you my personal story of forgiveness. I know forgiveness can be very difficult. I've listened to sermons that talk about how freeing it is to forgive and participated in book groups about forgiveness, and I thought, you don't know my story. How can I forgive? And maybe I don't want to. I'm not here to tell you what to do or how to do it. I'm here to share a story a story that perhaps you would think about. I'm telling you my story, and as I'm telling you my story, I'm going to be filling my bag of potatoes into my backpack. Okay. My relationship with my mother is complicated. And I'm guessing most of you have a complicated relationship with someone. So here's my story. To be honest, my mother never liked me. I grew up knowing this, but I didn't know why. I spent a good portion of my adult life trying to prove to her that I was worthy of her love, but it never worked. Then, about 10 years ago or so, we had a family reunion in Rhode Island. My mother, in her tone, a tone that is very special to her, told everyone about something I did when I was 10 years old. She was mad at me for something I did when I was 10. And she never forgave me. I wanted to explain myself to her. Yes, I had told her a lie, but that lie was told out of love. In my young brain, I thought that if I told this to her, it would help her. But instead, it turned her against me. I was shocked to learn that she was so mad at me all these years. And I wanted to defend myself, but I didn't know how. During the drive home from Rhode Island, this thing that had happened almost 40 years ago began to fester inside of me. I didn't know how to clear the air. Then a few years later, we were at some other function. I don't remember what it was, and she told the group the story again. And I was really mad. I was so shocked. I couldn't tell her my side of the story, and I didn't know how to respond. This terrible thing. I did this when I was 10. Why are you still mad at me? And how many other people did you tell this story to? I was going to be ready the next time. The next time she told the story, I was going to tell my side and show everybody what a jerk my mother really was. Every time we went to a function, I planned my rebuttal. I waited for that time to come, but she never said it again. So here I was with my sack of potatoes. After my mother retired, she was busy living her life and enjoying her time, as one should. When I would call her, she would snap at me, "I'm busy doing blah, blah, blah." Finally, I told her one day, I don't like that you yell at me every time I call, and if you continue to treat me this way, I'm not going to call. And as you can probably guess, we grew further apart. Now, when I wrote this, and I went shopping, I bought a 5-pound bag of potatoes, and I thought that would be enough. And as I was practicing it, I realized I had to go back to the shop, right? And get another 5-pound bag of potatoes. It's getting cumbersome. So a little over 6 years ago, I applied to Drew Theological School. I would be working full-time and going to school part-time. My mother's needs were nowhere on my radar. As I was announcing to my family my plans to go back to school, my mother had plans of her own. She was going to move out of her apartment and move into an assisted living facility. I was preparing to spend my nights and weekends in classes and focusing on my studies. My mother had other ideas. She informed me that she would be needing me to do more for her. The only thing that she did ask me was, would I be giving up my Saturdays or my Sundays to be spending time with her? She was not in my plans, and I resented every Sunday that I was with her. My heart would race with the stress of school and work that wasn't being done, and my anger that she now wanted me with her when she had never been there for me, and I would go and be with her and be singing Cats in the Cradle by Harry Chapin in my head, but I showed up. I did not go. I was there. Last fall, I said to my mom, look, I'm heading into my final year of Drew. It's going to be a really rough year. I'll be working full-time, I'll be doing my internship part-time, and I'm going to be going to classes part-time. You cannot get sick until May. On December 6th, I got a call that she was taken to the ER. Oh man, I was in the middle of writing my final papers. So I picked up my computer and books and notes in my hospital bag and carried them along with my sack of potatoes to the hospital. I wasn't mad, I was stressed. My mom was septic because of a blockage in her intestines. This had happened before. She would be on IV for a few days and then a soft, mild diet while she healed. After a few days, they sent her home and she complained she still wasn't really feeling good. I was like, Mom, there's nothing more they can do at the hospital. You just have to go home and follow the diet and your stomach will clear and you'll feel better. So the day after she got home, I had gone out to pick up some things that she needed, and when I got back to her place, she was eating in her room. She told me she was too tired to go down to the dining hall, which I get. She'd just been in the hospital for a few days, but it was what she was eating. My mom had ordered a salad, which most of the time would have been really great because if it's like not chocolate or cookies, I don't think she eats it. But a salad at this point was not a soft, mild diet, topped with shrimp. And for dessert, a piece of pecan pie.
Oh my gosh.
I said, Mom, you can't eat this. Her response to me was, I had to eat that lousy diet for 6 days. 6 days, now I'm going to eat whatever I want. My sister lives in California, so a lot of my mother's care falls on me. But she and I talk all the time, and during one of our phone calls, she said to me, you're so angry at Mom, and I'm worried about you when she dies. I'm really worried about you. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm angry. And I wasn't really worried about it, but I knew how to fix it. I had to let my mom know my side of what happened when I was 10 years old. So I wrote a short story, and as I wrote it, my heart opened, and tears fell down my face. And I shared the story with a few friends, and I started to feel better. And I decided I was going to give that to her as a Christmas present. I know, nice kid, right? On December 23rd, I got the call that she was headed back to the hospital. She just had to have that pecan pie. She hadn't followed the diet, and now she was really sick. These ER visits last hours. I quickly learned where the extra sick bags were and found the supplies, like disposable napkins, and cleaned my mom up every time she got sick. Not only was she not following the doctor's diet, she told everyone she was too sick to go down and eat and had spent the last few weeks sitting in her bedroom watching TV and through a blood clot. This was all self-inflicted. And now I couldn't give her the story. There's a lot here. Instead, I put up I put some greens in a vase and decorated them with small Christmas ornaments that belonged to her mother. and brought them to the hospital. I take Christmas cards up in the hospital room, and my mom collects little Santa statues, and I brought a few of those to decorate her room and make it festive for her. I had been so looking forward to winter break. I had taken an incomplete in one of my classes and needed to finish the paper. I was exhausted and planned on staying in my pajamas every day between Christmas and New Year's, write my paper and sleep. But instead I spent every day of my break in the hospital with my mother. I began my final semester. She was in rehab. I worked all day, and I would visit my mother each evening except for when I had class. I started out the semester behind. I spoke to my professor, who was so understanding and gave me a little extra time to get things done. After 3.5 weeks, my mom was home again. She was weak, so my sister had set up extra services for her, but my mother didn't use them or couldn't remember to use them. All this time in the hospital and rehab was causing the slight dementia to become a little bit more noticeable. My mom was home for 5 days when I got a call that she was having some bleeding, probably from the blood thinners, and headed back to the hospital. My sister and I also knew that she had had 3 falls during those days, and it was discovered that she fractured her hip. My professors, advisor, and the dean at Drew made accommodations for me to get through this final semester. My one professor, I'll just give her a shout out because she's a fellow UU at Summit, Dr. Powell, gave me one of the greatest gifts and greatest learning experiences I had at Drew. She just kept telling me, don't worry about the work, be present with your mom. This was not easy for me. And one rainy Sunday, I was visiting my mom at rehab. I was feeling really anxious about the work I had to do. My mom was tired and wanted to take a nap, so after the nurse put her in bed, I started to put my coat on and leave, and my mom said, "Where are you going?" "Home." I said, "Oh, I thought you might stay." "Okay," I said, and I took off my coat and sat down. I breathed deeply and tried to release all the stress and not think about the work that I had to do. I thought about Dr. Powell, and I thought about Kate Brestrup and her book. I found a podcast between Kate Brestrup and Krista Tippett, and let me tell you, if you ever need to take a nap, find this, because those are 2 really calming voices, and you will just go to sleep. I put it on, and I watched my mom sleep. I was starting to let go of my anger. While my mom was in the hospital, we needed to move her into a smaller room. I took a day off from work and started sorting through belongings. I know it's hard to clean up after somebody dies, but it's really hard when they're still with you. I cleaned out her desk and put all of her files in a box for later. Her desk was too big for her new room, as was her headboard. I sorted through her belongings and threw away things I knew she would miss or notice, and kept things that we could work on together when she got home. I moved everything we were going to keep across the hall to the smaller room. My mother's world was shrinking. I arranged her new room with care and love. I wanted her to feel like she was moving into a fancy hotel. I returned to the old room, where a few bags of garbage, her beloved stickly desk, and her headboard from the 50s with sliding compartments. She used to hide the M&Ms in there when we were kids. We found them. And in this compartment, and until recently, the chocolates have been replaced with paint patches and cough drops. I filled a bucket with water and Murphy's oil soap, and with tender love, I cleaned my mother's furniture. Furniture she would never see again. I thought about Kate and how she had cared for her husband's body. I will not be preparing my mother's body when the time comes, but I could take care of the things that she loved. I sobbed and I sobbed, and I thought about my anger, and I let it all pass. I was glad I never gave my mother the story. It doesn't matter. She's my mom, and I love her, faults and all. There's something very humbling about being the witness to someone's life becoming so small and watching them as they prepare for death. My mother never got to see the room I so lovingly set up for her. By the time she left rehab the second time, dementia had taken over. My sister came home and we moved my mother downstairs to the reminiscence, which is the memory care unit where she lives. My sister said to me, "Wow, your anger is gone, like all gone." Yep. My mother's world becomes smaller every day. She is retreating into herself, but for a while over this past spring, when I would go to visit her, she would be so excited to see me, and she would tell me that she loved me. I believe it was the Reverend Karen G. Johnston who posted after her mother died. It took dementia to heal our relationship. I can't tell you how to empty your sack of potatoes, or that you should empty your sack of potatoes. All I can do is share my story with you and hope that something I've said this morning has resonated. But what I can tell you is that when you let go, really let go, if everybody told me you hit the state of euphoria, which is amazing, and people who have transgressed against me, those potatoes just roll right off because I don't have a sack to carry them in anymore. It's a nice place to be. Now, I don't have 10 pounds of potatoes here. I am not going to eat them. I don't know if your food pantry can take them, or if you guys want to take some potatoes. Please do. Please know that these potatoes do not represent my anger. I have let them go, and each one is filled with love. Blessed be. Amen.
Please rise in body and spirit to sing the closing hymn, number 6, Just as Long as I Have Breath. Thank you, Lord. Kushner. It's beautiful. That was my littlest piggy. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I make my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dreams and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
My friends, the days are long, but the years are short. Free yourselves from your sack of potatoes. Go out and enjoy this beautiful Sunday.
Let's read the words together for extinguishing the chalice. We
Extinguish
extinguish
his
the
flame.
flame.
But not the fire of truth.
Warmth of community with the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts
Until we are together again.
It feels good always to be grateful. It feels good always to be kind. My world is changing for the better when you focus on the good in my life. Feels so right. I find joy in everyday simple moments. I choose to reflect on what feels good. Can't stop the momentum and the process. Remember as you think, so you are. You go where you want. I've been searching for a better way to live. Let my worries go. Let go of that sack of potato. Choose to focus on the things that bring me joy. Relax and just let go.
We warmly welcome all of you who are visiting us today. Let us share in a moment of silent reflection to consider today's message and the meaning it has in our lives.
Good morning.
Morning, Inspector.
A lot better. Yeah, her lab numbers are good. She's getting them taken every week, and they're a lot better. And she's back to work. And take it. Timing's good in that it's the summer, so she's got a lighter workload, but she's back to work. So yeah, but she's looking normal. She's acting normal.